a choice. This is the sound of one voice. This is the sound of one voice. This is the sound of voices too. The sound of me that's singing with you, helping each other to make it through. This is the sound of voices too. This is the sound of voices too. This is the sound of voices three, singing together in harmony, surrendering to the mystery. This is the sound of voices three. This is the sound of voices three. This is the sound of all of us, singing with love and the will to trust. Leave the rest behind, it'll turn to dust. This is the sound of all of us. This is the sound of all of us. This is the sound of one voice. One people, one voice. A song for every one of us. This is the sound of one voice. This is the sound of one voice.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Welcome to Cedar Lane Unitarian Universalist Congregation, to this service of remembrance and celebration. I'm the Reverend Abhijan Amanchi, one of the ministers serving this religious community. We gather today from different places and stages in life, with different beliefs, united by the impact Catherine Simpson had on our lives. We gather together in sorrow and grief, mourning the loss of a beloved family member and friend. We gather in sorrow for our loss, mourning for what is now beyond touching, though not beyond loving. We celebrate the group, the life made more by Kathy's presence in our lives, and we find courage, ever tested and renewed, to journey alone yet together through the days of joy and sadness ahead. And we gather in love, life's greatest expression, which survives even death. It is our love for Kathy, her children and grandchildren, and their families, and for her family of friends that compels us to fashion this service of celebration. We are glad Kathy lived, and that her life and legacy of love and service touched and transformed our lives. And so, we have turned aside from our accustomed ways and gathered here to give expression to the thoughts and feelings that well up in us in this time of loss. So let us give shape to the love and gratitude we feel for the ways in which Kathy touched our lives. We begin our service today by lighting a chalice for Kathy, using this symbol of our free faith, the flaming chalice. Today, this is the flame of memory and hope that we carry within us as we honor her. So as Kathy's grandchildren come forward to kindle the chalice, I invite us to rise in body or in spirit to share together the words that are printed in your order of service. We light this chalice in loving memory of our beloved friend and spiritual companion, Catherine Simpson, and in tribute to the love a single life can inspire. May the chalice remind us of the extravagant gift of life. May it signify the community we create in our being together and our sharing together. Thank you. You may be seated.
Good afternoon. I'm Todd Simpson, Kathy's oldest son, and I'm going to read a Native American prayer. I give you this one thought to keep. I am with you still. I do not sleep. I am 1,000 winds that blow. I am the diamond glints on snow. I am the sunlight on ripened grain. I am the gentle autumn rain. When you awaken in the morning's hush, I am the swift, uplifting rush of quiet birds in circled flight. I am the soft stars that shine at night. Do not think of me as gone. I am with you still in each new dawn.
I'm reading this as Brian, who can't make it today, but Brian is Kathy's fourth son. So I'll try. Commitment is serenity, but not complacency. It is comfort, but not submission. Reconciliation, not apathy. Acknowledgement, not aloofness. Contentment is a mental decision, a moral choice, a practiced observance, a step into the reality of the cosmos. Contentment, santosha, is a natural state of our humanness. And our divinity, and allows for our creativity and love to emerge. It is knowing our place in the universe at every moment. It is unity with the largest, most abiding reality. May all hearts be at ease. May our contentment promote the energies to alleviate suffering and turn ignorance into knowledge. May the cultivation of Santosha give us the courageous action, deeper community, and greater love for all sentient humans. Thank you.
I'm Karen Keel, and for those of you who don't know me, I'm Kathy's sister-in-law. She had asked for readings from the prophet, which is pretty much a sign of the generation that she and I both grew up in, and this is the one that we chose. For what is it to die but to stand naked in the wind and to melt into the sun? And what is it to cease breathing but to free the breath from its restless tides, that it may rise and expand and seek God unencumbered? Only when you drink from the river of silence shall you indeed sing. And when you have reached the mountaintop, then shall you begin to climb. And when the earth shall claim your limbs, then shall you truly dance.
Good afternoon, everybody. I am Linda. I am Kathy's daughter-in-law. I'm going to be reading Eulogy from a Physicist, which was read recently at another funeral and also coincidentally sent to me by Karen Keel to read to Kathy. But by the time I received it, Kathy really wasn't in a position to understand, so this is for Kathy. You want a physicist to speak at your funeral. You want the physicist to talk to your grieving family about the conservation of energy, so they will understand that your energy has not died. You want the physicist to remind your sobbing mother about the first law of thermodynamics, that no energy gets created in the universe and none is destroyed. You want your mother to know that all your energy, every vibration, every BTU of heat, every wave of every particle that was her beloved child remains with her in this world. You want the physicist to tell your weeping father that amid energies of the cosmos, you gave as good as you got. And at one point, you hope that the physicist will step down from the pulpit and walk to your broken-hearted spouse there in the pew and tell him that all the photons that ever bounced off of your face, all the particles whose paths were interrupted by your smile, by the touch of your hair, hundreds of trillions of particles have raced off like children, the ways forever changed by you. And as your widow rocks in the arms of a loving family, may the physicist let her know that all the photons that bounced from you were gathered in the particle detectors that are her eyes, that those photons created within her constellations of electromagnetically charged neurons whose energy will go on forever. And the physicist will remind the congregation of how much of all of our energy is given off as heat. There may be a few fanning ourselves with their programs as he says it. And he will tell them that the warmth that flowed through you in life is still here, still part of all that we are, even as we who mourn continue the heat of our own lives. And you'll want the physicist to explain to those who loved you that you need not have faith, that scientists have measured precisely the conservation of energy and found it accurate, verifiable, and consistent across space and time. You can hope your family will examine the evidence and satisfy themselves that the science is sound and that they'll be comforted to know your energy is still around. According to the law of the conservation of energy, not a bit of you is gone. You're just less orderly. Amen.
Please rise in body or in spirit to sing hymn number 123, Spirit of Life. The hymns that we have in the service today were all Kathy's favorite hymns and that she wanted us to sing. So let's sing with energy.
Sing in my heart.
So I'm Bill Simpson, and I'm the second of Kathy's sons. And I'm going to read a remembrance, a kind of biography of my mother. Catherine Rupke Simpson was a mother, sister, a teacher, a wife, a daughter, and a dedicated supporter of people. Kathy firmly believed in tolerance and respect and worked to make personal contributions to social justice to honor these beliefs. Most of all, Kathy, however, enjoyed the loves of her life, her children, husband, Bob, sisters, mother, and father. Born Alice Catherine Rupke on September 16, 1937, in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, Kathy was eldest of 4 daughters of Alice Rosina Lewis and Andrew Miles Rupke, the Lewis family from Pennsylvania, the Rupkes from Arizona. She was baptized and confirmed in the Presbyterian Church, but later and for most of her life found community with the Unitarian Universalists here at Cedar Lane. Catherine attended school in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania into high school, at which point she finished high school at the Baldwin School in Bryn Mawr, Pennsylvania. She graduated from Mount Holyoke College and earned a master's in teaching at Columbia University, Teachers College, and she was a member of the Pi Lambda Theta Honorary Society, honoring her talents in education. For much of her life, Catherine was a teacher. First in a public high school at an innovative school in Massachusetts, then as a laboratory instructor at Wellesley College. After having children, she taught high school at a girls' school in this area. Through her teaching, she supported students in and outside the classroom, helping her students to grow in self-knowledge and to love learning. Kathy was also a teacher of her children, grandchildren, and many others she would come to influence. She had a lifelong interest in promoting racial justice and acting as a peacemaker. Later in life, she volunteered for organizations sharing these goals. Kathy had a curious soul and was always enjoying learning about things and introspecting. She had a strong work ethic and valued relationships and being responsible for choices and actions. She was a very positive person. When things went wrong, she could express disappointment or anger, but she was not one to blame, and she was quick to put these behind her. She believed in being assertive, appreciative, and affectionate. She was a spiritual person, but not a dogmatic one, and fit in well to the Unitarian community where she practiced for most of her life. She was active, a healthy person, and enjoyed a wide variety of music and theater. She felt strongly and was easily moved to tears, often tears of joy. Family and friends were a huge part of her life. As a child, her mother, father, her 3 sisters, and their friend Vicky, the 5th sister. While in Boston, she met her husband, Robert Todd Simpson, who was in medical school and earned both a MD and a PhD. They were married on February 16, 1963 in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Bob and Kathy had 4 boys in the span of 5 years. All of whom are here in spirit today. Although the children were born in Boston, the family soon moved to Bethesda, Maryland, where she spent much of her life. After the children were grown, Bob and Kathy moved to Lamont, Pennsylvania, for Bob to work at Penn State University. And after Bob's passing, now 20 years ago, Kathy returned to the Silver Spring area where many family members have lived. Kathy was generally healthy and fit, although later in life she suffered from uterine fibroids and Crohn's disease. She was a planner, and when her eyesight started to fail from macular degeneration, she proactively moved to Riderwood Retirement Community, where she enjoyed the company of neighbors, particularly those of her sister Beck, who moved to Riderwood soon after. Later at Riderwood, she became afflicted with dementia, which frustrated the active part of her mind. that she couldn't express what she wanted to say. However, she still loved talking with family, listening to the radio. Kathy was a strong believer in quality of life over duration and expressed what medical interventions she wanted or did not want. After a fall at home, these brave choices led her to hospice, and she passed on April 23rd, 2024. Kathy wanted you to know that most of all the joys of her life had been her children, Bob, her sisters, her mother and father. We all feel the same way. Kathy always felt and taught that people should be people are people and deserved respect. As children, we all heard her express support for healthy, even if unconventional choices, as expressed at the time by the free to be you and me spirit of the 1970s. She continued to support marginalized communities throughout her life. In this and many ways, Kathy was a teacher of her children, of her students, of those who didn't see the way their prejudices were hurting others. Today we celebrate the life of Catherine Rupke Simpson with family and friends. We're truly blessed to share in this remembrance and celebration.
There's a land that I see where the children are free, and I say it ain't far to this land from where we are. Take my hand, come with me where the children are free. Come with me, take my hand, and we'll live in a land where the river runs free, in a land through the green country, in a land to a shining sea. And you and me are free to be you and me. I see a land bright and clear, and the time's coming near when we'll live in this land, you and me, hand in hand. Take my hand.
Well, I didn't really prepare any recollections, but I'll try to remember a few. The song "Free to Be You and Me" kind of brought back some memories. I even remember the fake ending in that we had where he wasn't over the first time you thought it was. We listened to that song and we had the whole "Free to Be You and Me" soundtrack, and it was on, I guess my parents had put it on a cassette, and we listened to it a lot when we were driving to Cape Cod for our family vacations. I remember that, and the whole, I think the message of the whole soundtrack in general was kind of that, you could be, you didn't have to be, what the stereotypes said you had to be in terms of doing things that you didn't have to. If you were a boy, you didn't have to do the things that they said that the boys had to do, and girls didn't have to do things that girls had to do. Or were officially, that's kind of the message, which I remember a lot of the songs on that soundtrack had. And I think my mother was kind of, she did some things that probably weren't necessarily what a girl or a woman was expected to, having the going back to work after the kids were in school, and at home my father did most of the cooking, so that was something which he liked to do it. And my mother, I think I take after my mother in this sense. I don't like it all that much. I do it sometimes, but it's not as fun. So yeah, I do remember going to Cape Cod. As I said, we had cassettes that would often get played in the car. There was another one which was Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, although it was missing a few songs in the middle. But we listened, had a lot of good times, I think. Well, looking back anyway, all those hours in the car getting to the Cape did have there were some nice things that were part of the journey, as well as obviously getting to Cape Cod, and that was something which I know I think my father in particular was able to arrange his schedule so that we would get at least 2 weeks and often a whole month off in the summer to get together and go somewhere it wasn't quite as hot in the summer for a family vacation. And those were some good memories, and I know your mom would have, Mom liked being there with us, and it's good to be able to think of her here today.
Thank you. Great. Thank you. Right. This is a book called Freddie the Leaf by Leo Buscali, PhD. And when our mother was dying in 1984, this book was published in 1982 and was lying on her bedside table while she was in hospice. And Catherine and I read it and just thought, this speaks to what we feel. So I'm going to read it. I had to make it big because I can't read the little print, so I'm going to read it from here. And it's got pictures in it, very subtle pictures of leaves and things, because Freddie is a leaf. So, spring is past, so it's summer. Freddie the leaf had grown large. His midsection was wide and strong, and his 5 extensions were firm and pointed. He had first appeared in spring as a small sprout on a rather large branch near the top of a tall tree. Freddie was surrounded by numbers of other leaves, just like himself, or so it seemed. Soon he discovered that no 2 leaves were alike, even though they were on the same tree. You know what, I could tell, let's just leave that in while we do that, and thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, because they can't see it anyway.
I couldn't resist.
Oh, thank you very much. My helper. Okay. Soon he discovered that no 2 leaves were alike, even though they were on the same tree. Alfred was a leaf next to him, Ben was a leaf to his right, and Claire was the lovely leaf overhead. They had learned to dance in the spring breeze, bask lazily in the summer sun, and wash off with cooling rains. But it was Daniel who was Freddie's best friend. He was the largest leaf on the limb and seemed to have been there before anyone else. It appeared to Freddie that Daniel was also the wisest among them. It was Daniel who told them that they were part of a tree. It was Daniel who explained that they were growing in a public park. It was Daniel who told them that the tree had strong roots which were hidden in the ground below. He explained about the birds who came to sit on their branch and sing in the morning songs. He explained about the sun, the moon, the stars, and the seasons. Freddie loved being a leaf. He loved his branch, his high leafy friends, his place high in the sky, the wind that jostled him around, the sun rays that warmed him, the moon that covered him with soft white shadows. Summer had been especially nice. The long, hot summers felt good, and the warm nights were peaceful and dreamy. There were many people in the park that summer. They often came and sat under Freddie's tree. Daniel told them that giving shade was part of his purpose. "What's a purpose?" Freddie asked. "A reason for being," Daniel had answered. "To make things more pleasant for others is a reason for being. To make shade for old people who come to escape the heat in their homes is a reason for being. To provide a cool place for children to come and play. To fan with our leaves and picnickers who come to sit and eat on our checkered tablecloths. They are all reasons for being." Freddie especially liked the old people. They sat quietly in the cool grass and hardly ever moved. They talked in whispers of times past. The children were fun too, even though they sometimes tore holes in the bark of the tree or carved their initials into it. Still, it was fun to watch them move so fast and to laugh so much. But Freddie's summer was soon past. It vanished on an October night. He never felt so cold. All the leaves shivered with the cold. They were coated with a thin layer of white, which quickly melted and left them dew-drenched and sparkling in the morning sun. Again, it was Daniel who explained that they had experienced their first frost, the sign that it was fall and that winter would come soon. Almost at once, the whole tree, in fact, the whole park, was transformed into a blaze of color. There was hardly a green leaf left. Alfred had turned a deep yellow, Ben had become a bright orange, Claire had become blazing red, Daniel a deep purple, and Freddie was red and gold and blue. How beautiful they all looked. Freddie and his friends had made their tree a rainbow. "Why did we turn different colors?" Freddie asked, "when we were all on the same tree? Each of us is different. We have our different experiences. We have faced the sun differently. We have cast shadow differently. Why should we not have different colors?" Daniel said matter-of-factly. Daniel told Freddie that this wonderful season was called fall. One day, a very strange thing happened. The same breezes that in the past had made them dance and began to push and pull at their stems, almost as if they were angry. This caused some of the leaves to be torn from their branches and swept up in the wind, tossed about and dropped softly to the ground. All the leaves became frightened. "What's happening?" they all asked each other in whispers. "It's what happens in falls," Daniel told them. "It's a time for leaves to change their home. Some people call it to die." "Will we all die?" Freddie asked. "Yes," Daniel answered. "Everything dies, no matter how big, small, weak, or strong. We first do our job. We experience the rain, the sun and the moon, the wind and the rain, and we learn to dance and to laugh, and then we die." "I won't die," said Freddie with determination. "Will you, Daniel?" "Yes," answered Daniel, "when it's my time." "When is that?" "No one knows for sure," Daniel responded. Freddie noticed that the other leaves continued to fall. He thought it must be their time. He saw that some of the leaves lashed back at the wind before they fell. Others simply let go and dropped quietly. Soon the tree was almost bare. "I'm afraid to die," Freddie told Daniel. I don't know what's down there." "We all fear what we don't know, Freddie. It's natural," Daniel reassured him. "Yet you were not afraid when summer became fall. They were natural changes. Why should you be afraid of the season of death?" Does the tree die too?" Freddie asked. Again, Someday the tree will die, but there's something stronger than the tree. It's life. That lasts forever, and we all are a part of life. Where do we go when we die? No one knows for sure. That's the great mystery. Will we return in the spring? We may not, but life will. Then, what has been the reason for all this? Freddie continued to question. Why are we all here, and why do we have to fall and die? Daniel answered matter-of-factly, "It's been about the sun and the moon. It's been about happy times together. It's been about the shade and the old people and the children. It's been about the colors in the fall. It's been about seasons. Isn't that enough?" That afternoon, in the golden light of dusk, Daniel let go. He fell effortlessly. He seemed to smile peacefully as he fell. "Goodbye for now, Freddie," he said. Then Freddie was alone, the only leaf left on his branch. The first snow fell the following morning. It was soft, white, gentle, but it was bitter cold. There was hardly any sun that day, and the day was very short. Freddie found himself losing his color, becoming brittle. It was constantly cold, and the snow weighed heavily upon him. At dawn, the wind came and took Freddie from his branch. It didn't hurt at all. He felt himself float quietly, gently, and softly downward. As he fell, he saw the whole tree for the first time. How strong and firm it was. He was sure that it would live for a long time, and he knew that he had been a part of its life, and it made him proud. Freddie landed on a clump of snow. It somehow felt soft and even warm. In his new position, he was more comfortable than he had ever been. He closed his eyes and fell asleep. He did not know that spring would follow winter and that the snow would melt into water. He did not know that what appeared to be his useless, dried self would join with the other water and serve to make the tree grow stronger. Most of all, he did not know that asleep in the tree and the ground were already. Most of all, he did not know that there, asleep in the tree and the ground, were already plans for new leaves. New leaves in the spring. And it ends with the beginning. Thank you for your time.
Very good. Hey everybody, I'm Mike. I'm Kathy's third son. Thank you all for coming today. I was thinking about things to say about her, and I just thought of a couple qualities she had that I wanted to sort of repeat. My mom really valued independence, both in herself and in others, and she valued the competence that makes it possible to be independent, because you can't really be independent if you can't do things. After she finished her undergraduate work at Mount Holyoke, she went to Columbia for a master's degree and then began teaching. And she kept teaching as a lab instructor even after her 4 sons were born. She only stopped for a little while after we moved down here and started teaching again at Stone Ridge as soon as we were in school full time. I used to meet students, her Stone Ridge students, when I was in high school, and I would ask them what it's like there and what their teachers would like, not letting them know that my mother was one of them. About half of her students thought that she was a great student, really encouraging, really helpful, and the other half thought she was an incredibly mean taskmaster. I think the first half were probably the bright students, and the second half probably not quite so much. She could be stern if you weren't giving a task your best effort. At 8 years old, I complained to her once that I didn't have any clean shirts. That wasn't going to happen twice. I was brought down to the basement and given an immediate lesson on how a washer works and how a dryer works. The powder goes here, the clothes go on top, you push the button. So that was the first time I did my own clothes, and I've never had anybody do the clothes for me since. After her retirement from teaching, she and my dad bought a small RV, and they had a plan to drive cross-country. Not surprisingly, my dad, who was still running his lab and still invested in his research, basically set the time as to when they were going to take this trip to later, forever later. So Kathy packed up the RV, went by herself. She hosted her sisters and friends along the way. From Pennsylvania, she crossed the northern states, drove through Canada overland to Fairbanks to visit Bill and his family, where we all joined her. From there, she went took it on the Marine Highway down to Seattle, drove down the coast of California, across Arizona, Texas, and New Mexico, going through the southern United States and seeing the civil rights sites for the people she always admired. She set her own course, and she went where she wanted. She allowed independence in her children and others as well. When I was 16, 2 friends and I took a spring break to Whiteface Mountain in upstate New York. Just 3 16-year-olds in a rusty B210 Datsun wagon, 6 pairs of skis, and a cabin we had rented through the mail. It was mind-boggling. Later, when I had kids, I asked her, what made her think letting us take a trip like this was a good idea? And all she said was, we thought you'd survive and probably learn something. So, she valued independence and let you do what you needed to and suffer the consequences if you messed it up. She also had a very, very strong sense of fairness and an indignation when others weren't treated as she thought they should be. She was a supporter of Black Lives Matter. She supported lesbian, gay, and bisexual and transgender rights forever. She actually sat us aside before we took a trip to Provincetown once and explained that we might see men holding hands or women kissing, which was really surprising to me because at the time, nothing in my upbringing would have suggested that this wasn't fine. Like, I didn't even understand why she would tell me this, but I think I was about 8 at the time. She brought students from Stone Ridge to work in soup kitchens and to work in homeless shelters, and she taught literacy to adults when we were kids. Although I was too young to remember clearly, we used to watch the news with my father in the evening in the early 1970s to see if we would see Mom on the protests against the war in Vietnam. It was her lifetime's work. And this brings me to my final story, which is not a memory of mine, but a story that she told reluctantly, and I've asked her sisters to verify. She told it almost with some embarrassment. When she grew up, her father, Andy, was in the management of Bethlehem Steel, then one of the largest steel producers in the world. Her family had household staff, one of whom, William, who was her father's butler and driver, and I think a lot of other things as well, was particularly dear to her. One day, she was walking home from school with a boy from her class, and the boy turned to her and said, and looked and saw William, who was black, on their porch, and said, "You have a black person, on your porch, using a slur I won't repeat today. The boy was soon on the ground and then running away because Kathy had punched him right in the face. In the aftermath of this, William took Kathy aside and counseled her. He said, well, he appreciated the defense. In this world, people would say things and do things that upset you, and that violence wouldn't solve any of those problems. And she needed to find another way to make a difference. And for the next 70 years, she did. Thank you.
Everybody is wondering what and where they all came from. Everybody is worrying about where they're gonna go when the whole thing's done. But no one knows for certain, and so it's all the same to me. I think I'll just let the mystery be. Some say once gone, you're gone forever, and some say you're gonna come back. Some say you rest in the arms of the Savior if in sinful ways you lack. Some say that they're coming back in a garden, bunch of carrots and little sweet peas. I think I'll just let the mystery be. Everybody is wondering what and where they all came from. Everybody is worried about where they're gonna go when the whole thing's done. But no one knows for certain, and so it's all the same to me. I think I'll just let the mystery be. Some say they're going to a place called glory, and I ain't saying it ain't a fact. But I've heard that I'm on the road to purgatory, and I don't like the sound of that. Well, I believe in love and to live my life accordingly. But I choose to let the mystery be. Everybody is wondering what and where they all came from. Everybody is worried about where they're gonna go when the whole thing's done. But no one knows for certain, and so it's all the same to me. I think I'll just let the mystery be. I think I'll just let the mystery be.
So I was lucky enough not only to be Kathy's daughter-in-law, but also to have a ringside seat to her relationship with her grandchildren, my 3 sons and Bill's 2 daughters. I'm going to start this with a quote. There is $5 in my purse for anybody who is not in my immediate family who can later tell me which movie it's from and perhaps who said it. What we do in life echoes in eternity. This quote reminds us that our actions have a lasting impact beyond our lifetimes, and that we have the power to create a legacy that will transcend time and ourselves. Nick, Luke, Ben, Amelia, and Lalache, you are those echoes. I have it on great authority, the authority of every grandparent I have ever met, that being a grandparent is actually the best part of parenting. Being a parent is immensely rewarding, but it can also be immensely challenging and at times just plain exhausting. Being a grandparent is less about day-to-day responsibilities and more about presence and pride and joy and love. And oh my goodness, did Foramore love being your grandmother. She loved each of you for your individual talents and joys and quirks, and she marveled at watching you grow into the amazing people you are. Foramore was the kind of grandparent who didn't need to ask what to buy you for Christmas, because she paid attention to who you are and knew what you might be interested in and what might spark your curiosity. For my boys, she's fed that curiosity by taking each of you on a trip of your choice when you were in middle school. Nick went to the Maker Faire in Austin, Texas. Luke got to snorkel in the Monterey Aquarium, and Ben got to explore the Pacific Northwest, including the town where the Twilight book and movie series was set and filmed. I can share that here today because Ben is not here. He's in Pasadena. Foramore loved planning and sharing these experiences with you, and you've told me they're something you will never forget. Being in Alaska meant that Amelia and Lalache were not physically close by, but that did not mean Foramore didn't get to share experiences with you. She made sure she made it to Alaska to spend time with you every year, even coming in the literal dark of winter and driving her little RV, Rhonda, all the way to Fairbanks to spend time with you. Amelia remembers marveling that they actually made RVs that small. Foramore would come back from Alaska full of stories and love to share with us your interests and accomplishments and her joy at spending time with you both. Foramore also found joy in meeting Nick's wife, Lydia, and Ben's partner, EJ. The fact that, to be completely honest, she couldn't really remember your names didn't mean she didn't love learning all about you and sharing your importance to her grandson. She loved discovering, more than once, that EJ also went to Mount Holyoke, and Lydia shared a sweet memory of Foramore recently, looking at a picture of her young Nick and marveling, mostly to herself, that little boy got married last year. When I asked each of you 5 for words that you'd use to describe Foramore, you told me kind, cool, woke, passionate, and compassionate. You loved and respected her for her profound sense of justice and her acceptance of all people unconditionally, and she cared deeply about the social issues affecting your lives. Ben, who is fiercely independent, commented that Foramore is one of the only people whose opinion of him really matters. She has left you all an amazing legacy of joy and curiosity, acceptance for all, and love for life, no matter where it takes you. What matters to her is that you are kind and accepting of yourselves and others, and that you find your own joy in the world. I know that you will carry her in your hearts, and she will be forever proud of you.
Well, I obviously have no childhood memories of Catherine because I met her when my brother married her when we were both in medical school. Kathy had a long and rewarding life, and I have memories of her in Boston, Bethesda, State College, and over again on Cape Cod. Like all of ours, her life had bumps in the road. She was devastated by Bob's premature death, and I watched her recover from that to be back in a happy, independent life. I remember Kathy with 4 boys under 5 years of age, managing to corral them all, find amusements for them, and to still be happy in the chaos. Kathy, to be happy in the chaos. I was looking at a photo of Kathy, Bob, Mike, and me, and it made me remember it's taken in the evening after, at that time, 6 of our children, all under probably 6 or 7, were finally asleep after an evening together. And the 4 of us are laughing uproariously at the respite. There were many evenings like that over the years, and I remember them fondly. Maybe 20 years ago, Kathy had an accident in which she was hit by a car while walking on the sidewalk in Silver Spring. In the evaluation, she was found to have a fairly large aneurysm in her brain. And after it was looked at, she expressed her desire to have no treatment for this. She thought she had no symptoms, and except for the accident, she would never have known she had this aneurysm. She carefully and really thoughtfully delineated her choices for medical care, or more truthfully, for very little care or no care over the next few years, giving her children careful, well-thought-out guidelines to limit medical care, guidelines for how she wanted to spend the rest of her life, guidelines that Mike and Linda honored for her. I remember Kathy as gracious and smiling until the dementia burdened her with anxiety. And even then, she always was smiling and happy when she saw family and friends. I am really grateful that Kathy was part of my life, a woman who modeled for me finding happiness in friends and family. And I will miss her greatly. But because I loved her, I am glad she is released from this most difficult part of her life.
Thank you for your reflections and memories of Kathy. And we will continue to share some of our stories and memories when we gather after the service at the reception. I now invite you to rise again in body or in spirit to sing Bring Many Names, another of Kathy's favorite hymns, number 23 in the Gray Hymnal.
Bring many names.
Please be seated. Catherine Rupke Simpson was a remarkable woman whose legacy is one of love, dedication, and a deep commitment to justice. We heard how she was many things: a mother, a sister, teacher, wife, daughter, grandmother, a friend, and a dedicated supporter of people. Kathy valued work and relationships, firmly believing in taking responsibility for her choices and actions. She was deeply committed to acceptance and understanding and respect for ethnic and religious differences, and she worked tirelessly to make personal contributions to social justice, living into those beliefs and values that she carried. Here at Cedar Lane, Kathy was deeply involved in our Social Justice Council for many years. She was active in Action in Montgomery, which is a community organization that Cedar Lane was a founding member of, and she was very active in supporting the work of AIM in our county, especially supporting affordable housing, after-school care for children, and other issues that we were engaged in this county. She was also one of the earliest promoters of Black Lives Matter at Cedar Lane. This was in 2013 when I was called to Cedar Lane, and we hung the Black Lives Matter banner outside. Kathy was one of the people who took the lead in supporting the congregation to grow into their understanding of being engaged in racial justice work. And she was also deeply committed to immigrant justice, supporting refugee families, involved with helping us develop an immigrant justice ministry here at Cedar Lane, and was deeply connected to the work we did with Syrian families when we were working with a local mosque here in Potomac. Kathy was deeply engaged in that work. These are just a few examples of how deeply Kathy was invested in the work of justice and equity through her association with this congregation. But most of all, Kathy cherished the loves of her life, her children, her grandchildren, her husband Bob, sisters, sister-in-law, mother, father, and she was, we heard about being a teacher at heart, professionally and personally, supporting her students inside and outside the classroom, fostering their growth in self-knowledge and a love of learning, and her passion extended to teaching her children and her grandchildren and many others that she influenced both here at Cedar Lane and in the larger community. Kathy also had a curious soul. There was that love of holy curiosity that she carried all her life. She was eager to learn new things and was reflective about what she was learning, and carried with it a strong work ethic where she valued relationships and had this fiercely independent streak. Kathy was spiritual. She approached social justice as a spiritual practice, but she was not dogmatic. You know, that hymn we sang, Bring Many Names, captures Kathy's theology and her understanding of the mystery that is manifest in so many ways and is known in many names. She also believed in people, not things. You know, she valued people. She believed in relationships. In some ways, I feel she believed that God is in the relationships, and how she went about cultivating them was an example of how one embodies their values and convictions. You know, when I reflect on Kathy's life, I'm reminded of these words from William Henry Channing. to laugh often and love much, to win and hold the respect of intelligent persons and the affection of little children, to earn the approbation of honest critics, and to endure without flinching the betrayal of false friends, to appreciate beauty always, whether in earth's creations or human handiwork, to have sought for and found the best in others, and to have given it oneself, to leave the world better than one found it, whether by a healthy child, a garden patch, a cheery letter, or a redeemed social condition, to have played with enthusiasm, laughed with exuberance, and sung with exaltation, to go down to dust and dreams knowing that the world is a wee bit better, and that even a single life breathes easier because we have lived well. This is to have succeeded. These words encapsulate the spirit and legacy that Kathy leaves behind, a testament to a life well lived and the profound impact she had on those around her. So let us celebrate her life and the love and the wisdom she shared with us. May her legacy continue to inspire us to live with acceptance, respect, and a commitment to making this a more just world. May it be so. And now I invite you to rise once more to sing another of Kathy's favorite hymns, We Would Be One, number 318 in the Gray Hymnal.
We would be one, as now we join in singing our hymn of love, to pledge ourselves anew to that high cause of greater understanding of who we are and what in us is true. We would be one in living for each other, to show to all a new community. We would be one in building for tomorrow, a nobler world than we have known today. We would be one in searching for that meaning which binds our hearts and points us on our way. As one we pledge ourselves to greater service, with love and justice, strive to make us free.
Please be seated. Let us turn inward with gratitude and thanksgiving. Let us give thanks for every gift of life that brings us joy, peace, and strength of heart. Let us give thanks for every person whose life speaks to us words of hope and affirmation. Let us give thanks for Kathy, in whose memory we gather here today. Let us give thanks for her life, each of us recalling what she has meant to us. Let us give thanks for her work of her hands, for the thoughts of her mind, for the aspirations of her spirit, and for the affections of her heart. Let us give thanks for every experience that has expanded our knowledge of ourselves and of the world, quickened our imaginations, enlarged our sympathies, and taught us the meaning of love and community. Let us depart remembering that we are all connected, and our strength is the strength of the many. And though death has severed the physical cord, our memories and love for Kathy are strong even in death, and that the web of life is never made stronger, more stronger than by love. As we depart this sacred space to enjoy food and community of friends and family, may peace dwell in our hearts and understanding in our minds. May courage strengthen our wills, and the love of truth forever guide us. Go in peace. Go making peace, living gently, loving mightily, and bowing to the mystery. Please remain seated for the postlude as the family gathers in the fellowship hall to receive after the service. Thank you for being here.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that